she gets them. Alright, so there we go. Welcome to. We're on the 7th episode, aren't we? Yep. Alright. Today's episode.
No one showed up.
Working on it.
Hello.
Today's episode is What's Up Destiny, where we're going to talk about the past, present, and the future of D2. We have a featured guest, Savith. He does voice acting.
Hello.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself, Savith.
Oh, okay. I'm voice acting in a smaller cartoon. It hasn't taken off quite yet. We're still working on casting, all that fun shebang. It's a nice concept. I find it very entertaining, and I'm very glad I'm a part of it. Other than that, Destiny-wise, I started playing when I was younger, back in Shadowkeep, etc., etc. I had no money, so I didn't have any of the DLCs. It got boring, and I started picking it up back at start of this season at Episode Echoes, and well, it's been an interesting time, to say the least. Yeah.
All right.
So yeah, I'm Sabbath.
Yeah.
And well, tell me a little bit about that cartoon. I'm interested.
Oh, the cartoon. Okay. All right. It's interesting. It's called Seafoam Shanty. Okay.
You said Seafoam Shanty?
Yeah. I would have to relook it, but it's for short SFS. It's pretty much two companies, or co's, as we call them. They're in a big fight, and a main character named Emily wants to break up the fight, and that's the main problem of the story. Two different, I guess you could say, more powerful leaders in a fight, and one small person trying to break it up, so just persevering throughout the challenges. Other than that, it's a small cartoon, like I said, hasn't taken off. But it's gonna be fun. I'm excited, and I'm very glad I'm a part of it.
Yeah.
And where can I find it at?
You would be able to find it on YouTube. I know the person that runs it has a couple socials on like TikTok, Twitter, like that. But we were planning to try releasing the first couple of episodes at the end of 2025 if we get a bunch of people for casting, music, etc., and a couple animators. We need those.
It's still a work in progress.
It's still a work in progress. We're still needing to cast all the characters and jazz like that.
Well, I'm interested.
Yeah, it seems like it's gonna be really cool. It's a small indie cartoon, and I'm just glad I'm a part of it.
Yeah.
Huh?
This is Michael. He's a bit of a special.
Yeah.
Bit of a special. Oh.
All right, we're gonna plug
There was
our
even a
sponsor real quick. So right now, Dubby has a discount of 40% when you use the code Warehouse40.
By the way, I got Gavin. If you want to come over,
You gotta
got
turn up
Chance
your
with
mic, dude.
I have Chance with me.
Okay. Well, anyways, back to the topic at hand. So, currently, Destiny is chaotic.
Oh
Some
my
say
God,
it's
you're right.
dying, some say it's thriving. We're gonna take a look at past, future, and present, and give out some ideas, share some opinions, and yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Gavin,
yep.
the peak. Whenever you say the letter S or like, make that sound, it does a very high pitch like squeak.
Oh, really? So, okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
So like we're where to begin? Let's start with the
You went
micros.
heavy
Why
into that.
not?
Funny.
We're gonna start with the micro band. So for those who don't know what micros were, they are a AFK system where it allows you to run a raid or something while not even playing the game. And that was mainly for the class marks for their exotic armor. and
Mhm.
people wanted a certain perk, so they'd use that to farm it. D2 decided to shut that down and block. If you're caught with them, you will get your account deleted. A few accounts have been deleted that made those, and D2, well, Bungie is saying that it was due to other reasons.
All right. Well, I know nothing about Destiny really at all, so you have to explain it to me.
So basically, okay, we'll use it in Overwatch. So let's say you're playing Overwatch, right? And you want to get a certain rank, but you don't want to play the same thing over and over. Basically, it's slapping an AI to do it for you.
Yeah, that's very ban worthy in Overwatch. That's like super ban worthy.
Salvo, you
What?
want
So
to
were
pitch
people
in?
mad? Were people mad that the people were getting banned or something, or did they think it was justified?
They're mad that it's gone because running this thing, the RNG is not great. So you're constantly running, begging that you get the role you want. So they do that so they don't feel like they need to bash their skulls in. So people aren't happy with that, but then they came out with the attunement, which I will pull that up here in a second. Okay, there it is. So, at one of the vendors, we'll get this. So, you could select what parts you want, so you'll get a higher chance of that effect. Which, really, they should have did that before they declared the ban. But yeah.
Okay. But isn't it ain't that literally just botting though? Like if you put an AI to do it for you, that's just kind of just botting.
Yeah.
You're just... So people shouldn't get mad over that. That's just kind of you're not supposed to do that.
Well, that's also going to the next topic. So I'll continue with that in a minute. Salvo, you want to say anything? Salvo?
Hello? Yeah, it's business.
Alright, well, we'll
Yeah,
get
let's
to
move on to the next thing.
the next topic at hand. So the RNG, so the drop rate. So let's say you're trying to get a certain gun, certain role. That's hard because you're constantly running, making sure you got the right perks. Or when you're running a dungeon and trying to get it, the dungeon exotic, and it never freaking drops. I've ran, for like instance, Warlords, which is a newer dungeon, and it has this crossbow that you can get. 378 times I've ran that, and I have the catalyst, but not the gun.
Did you just say 378 times?
In counting.
What's the drop rate of it? Do you know the percentage?
It's not supposed to be that high, so, but most of the people I run through it, they get it first try. It's randomized.
Oh, so you're just unlucky.
And a lot of people are too. It just sucks with the drop rate.
Have you gotten some of the triumphs that like help it, or
All
that
of them.
do they not have triumphs on that?
I have all the triumphs.
Oh, okay. Maybe you do just have bad luck, I guess.
But yeah, so a lot of them are hard to get when you're trying to get it. Or like in Solstice, where the drop rate on the bow is so insane. That's all you get besides the armor. And everybody was very mad about that.
Like, I remember trying to just get like a compass rose or something.
Oh yeah.
It would be 3-4 bows and 1 chest piece. It was terrible.
I know stuff like World of Warcraft, for example. They would have drop chances of like 0.1, 0.2%, and that would take people like years to get.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so
RNG, really?
I feel like they definitely need to tweak some of that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, is it with the weapon? Is it like core to anything? Is it like important, or did people just
so
want it?
some people collect it. Some people use them for builds. So like to make your damage phase better, smoother, you deal more DPS, or just like
better in
simple
general.
reloads. It depends on what you're running for.
And I think with the thing with Buried Bloodline, which makes it so desirable, is it's easy to get the Devour, if I'm correctly correct.
Yeah, very easy.
Which is very
What
important to
Devour?
like Warlocks, for example.
It's
what
a
I've heard of.
debuff effect.
Diva, okay. I'm a Titan main, so I don't know much.
So basically, you make the boss lose his protection while you just lay into him.
Oh, okay.
That seems pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's the next thing?
Okay, so they tried saying, "Oh, we fixed it," but they didn't really patch it. They added a higher drop rate for the others, but it's not too big and it's too far late in the Bonfire Bash to actually make a difference. Because everybody that's done with it wouldn't realize it, and then they would miss out on their god rolls.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
But I do
What's the
want
bonfire
talk.
bash?
So it's one of the events. You've got one for every holiday. This one's for like the start of the new year. So you have to go around and kill bosses to get orbs to cash them to make your fire bigger.
Yeah.
And at the end, you defeat a giant taken boss.
All right.
Yeah.
So what do you want to talk about?
So I do want to talk about Zur. So Zur, well, I'll get a picture of him while I'm talking.
Oh, yeah,
Is a agent of the Nine, which is 9 gods, and he serves them. He would run around planet to planet, and if you find him, you would be able to get loot from him. Really
That
good
seems
exotic
reasonable, yeah.
loot or guns. So here, I'm throwing a picture up. So this is Zur. He also
kind of
runs,
like a Disney version of Davy Jones.
he is the a lot of people call him the arms dealer or the black market. He also runs the game show, if you want to call it that, where
Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Continue.
but yeah, he runs a game show with the Star Horse, which is one of the 9 gods. The problem I have is, so he used to rotate between like 5 or 6 planets, and it would be only up for 3 days. So you had to be there on that day to get the gun. Now, you could just go to him at the tower any day of the week to get it.
What's wrong with that?
Okay, so you're killing all the adventure out of it. So like when I first found him on Titan,
Mm-hmm.
I looked him up and it was like a new thing, so it got me hyped.
Yeah.
But now he's just a stagnant vendor, and no one's going to get that feeling off of him.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of killed the excitement.
Yeah,
Like when they made his location static, I was like surprised in a way because I did enjoy like, okay, where is Zur gonna be this weekend? But I do find there's some negatives and there is some positives to it. One, it can help new light players in a way. I know it kills the adventure for
Yeah.
them if they, it kills a lot of the adventure, but it helps them get a little bit more of a kickstart at the game, so they're not hour crept in a lot of activities, for example, and it just helps them get a better start at it, you know?
yeah,
But it also takes a little bit of the fun out of getting your first exotic now that it's so much easier, you know? Remember when I got my first exotic, the Huckleberry, I was surprised and I was happy, you know? Because it was the first exotic I ever got, and it was fun.
yeah.
when I first played Destiny, Gavin just got me all the exotics that he could find. I was like, okay. I was like, okay.
Or I'll
There
try to
was
get
not,
you
like,
stuff
there wasn't really too much
or
excitement.
some decent stuff to give you a good challenge.
Mhm.
But yeah, so now he's stagnant, and it kind of like kills that he's a explorer. He goes planet to planet. In the lore, he went to Tor Bottle and everywhere
Mhm.
to spread the word of the Nine.
Now he's like
and now
retired
he's just,
in a way.
Yeah.
He's no more messenger of the Nine. He sits there.
He's just there now.
Mhm.
He's just a guy. He's a little old guy.
Yeah.
But
It's kind of a bummer though that it just takes a lot of the fun out of Wurzer.
I feel like Destiny is like a game of exploration and fighting.
Mhm.
And the more you remove that, the less fun it gets.
Mhm.
Yeah, I do feel that. But one thing I would say is, at least when I first played Destiny, even when I had you there to like guide me through it, I didn't know what was going on really ever. I anything I would see, it would just be like, I would just see like 14 different like points of interest, 14 different like planets, 14 different like
Yeah.
modes or whatever, and I just didn't know what was going on at all, to the point to where even when I was trying to do the basic campaign, I didn't even know where to do it at. I didn't even know where it was or what was going on. I couldn't understand. I couldn't really
Yeah.
grasp
because
everything. It was so confusing.
it was just built like a clusterfuck. There was so much to do and not a good way to put it.
Enough
It just
time.
overwhelms you.
Mhm.
That's why I liked the one of the fewer ones before they kept on changing it, where you spawned in, you had to kill the walker, you had to escape old Russia, and you had to repair your plane while fighting off a horde, and that was how you got to the tower. Then you speak to them, and then you're good to go. Then it had you start at lower planets, work your way up to the higher difficulties.
Mhm.
Now it's just all over the place.
Because I remember when I first started playing Destiny, it was nice and simple, you know. And when
Yeah.
I came back, it was so much stuff because I haven't played for like 6-something years. You had Tormentors, you had all these new DLCs, so many new. Because I remember when what Armor still had like elements to it. I don't know if that was long ago or not, but I remember that. And when I
Yeah.
came back, I was like, oh, no more elements. Okay, there's so much changed. Some for
I
the
feel
better,
like
some for the worse.
they wanted to like make it new, so like when old players would start,
Mhm.
they had something else instead of that.
Mhm.
So like they
Which
had
is
the
understandable.
whole story where Shahan lost his fire team and you had to go kill the witch that killed him.
Mhm.
And yes, it was a nice story and all, but if it was so confusing on what you had to do, and there were so many steps for a new player to lose interest in.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's what really
Oh.
killed most of the new players. Besides all
Right,
the
it's just the
DLCs.
overwhelming.
Yeah,
But one thing I will say is, once you get past that initial wall, the thing is, it's like a tall like wall you have to get through. But once you initially get over that, and I started to kind of understand what I was doing, kind of recognize some of the little like menus that I've seen,
yeah,
then it started to get a lot more fun after that. But it's just such a high wall, like when you initially see it, that it's just like it can kill a lot of players from like
Mhm.
continuing.
yeah.
I'm sure.
So
Like if I didn't have Gavin to guide me through it, I wouldn't have played Destiny ever.
Mhm.
I
It's
try to
just so
help as many new ones as I
overwhelming
can.
with the new player base.
If I'm not playing with someone, I'm sitting in the Cosmodrome helping new players out
Mhm.
because it's just so overwhelming. It's
Yeah.
going to die real fast.
Mhm.
So
Like,
just
if you're playing
try and
without
clean.
any help, it takes a very specific type of person to work through it.
yeah. So like with the other problem with like the DLCs, they see how expensive it is, and they just
Mm-hmm.
get stuck with just roaming planets, and they don't really have much to do
Mm-hmm.
if they're not buying the season or the DLCs. They're just wandering, doing a few strikes, and it gets boring. Now I liked it when back when I was playing, they had the Curse of Osiris and Red War to play as like free DLCs. So you at least had something to do, and if you liked those, then you could go check out the other ones. And
Yeah.
they weren't like $100, $60, or like $70.
They were just cheaper overall.
Yeah, they're like $25.
What Bungie saw, they can make a lot of money, and they said, you know what? I like a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But now they're talking about bringing back free DLCs, and people are afraid and angry about that. I get it from like buying the DLCs. You spent all this money, and now people are getting a bunch of this for free. Like, well,
Yeah.
no, I paid for it. You gotta pay for it too.
Well, the thing is, if they're giving new free DLCs, that means they're also getting it free. They don't have to spend any money for that.
Yeah.
But I would like it to go back to like how they did like Curse of Osiris. It wasn't big, but it was good enough to keep people there and entertained with the story. But they should still have the paid ones where it's like big, there's a bunch of stuff, you can get a super.
Kind of like how it was kind of like a appetizer to see if you wanted to buy the full thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what those two DLCs were.
Yeah.
Well, appetizers to see if you wanted to
were
buy
really
the
good.
full thing. Mm. I never played those because I didn't know they were in the game when I was playing, which was kind of a bummer. But if I knew they were there, I would play them for sure.
So like Red War, that was really good.
Mm-hmm. I kind of remember trying Leviathan though, because my friends and me we saw this thing and we were like, I wonder what it is, and we tried 3-manning Leviathan, not knowing it was a raid. We never made it past the first rooms.
Yeah.
It's just
I
those old
remember
memories,
going
you know.
through that thing unknowing, then slowly learning.
Mm-hmm. It's a work in progress, really.
But yeah. I like how simple stuff was. So like, during Curse of Osiris, you met Saint 14, this badass butcher of the Vex, butcher of the Fallen, just running around destroying stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like a guy's guy. Like, this guy's pretty cool. And he also brought Trials with him.
Yeah.
And him and Osiris had like a manly bond. And now it's like,
Yeah.
now like they're gay, and I just don't know how to feel about it. I don't know if that was the original intent, or they decided to just incorporate it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't mind personally. It doesn't bother me the slightest.
It's just, it's not great.
It
but
was
it's not
quite a
bad.
bit of a surprise to me though when I found out.
Yeah.
But then again, it doesn't bother me that much.
Mm. So we did P. So okay, we did. We'll do the damage changes next because I've got the stats and stuff pulled up right now.
Okay, well, what about it?
So they're reworking dungeons and raids, and I get that because if you're running the same thing over and over, it kind of gets boring. So they're trying to change it up. But for like newer players, it's really gonna throw them off. So like here's the final shape one. So your power cap is reduced. Outgoing, yeah, that's all of it, and it's gonna hurt some stuff.
What, like what?
So like your outgoing damage is removed by 33%. Dungeon is actually boosted, but your surges is down another 15. You take more damage than what you originally did. So yeah, it poses a bigger challenge, but for some of the people that are struggling with it already, it's gonna hurt them a little bit more.
That's not like an increased difficulty mode. That's just like the base one.
No, overall they're increasing it.
It's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
Because that's gonna be like a bummer to some of the newer players wanting to get into raids and dungeons.
Yeah,
You know,
it's definitely gonna.
like I can agree with some raids and dungeons needing a little bit more
Yeah.
challenge.
But
You know,
like,
for example, like Vault of Glass. You know, it's just easier. You know, you
Yeah.
can one phase Atheon with ease if you have the right stuff. Same thing, for example, not Grasp of Avarice. Shattered Throne. If you have all 3 buffs, you can
yeah.
you could probably just punch the
At
boss
this point, you can
and
like
she'd
2
wither
mana
away.
them or even solo them without a correct build. You just spray and
Just
shot.
punch her and she'd wither away.
So
I'd
yeah.
say just
I
give the
understand some of them
dungeons
need
that-
like a power buff like Shattered Throne and all the older ones. But like Ghost of the Deep, you don't need to touch that unless you're lowering
No.
the health a little bit.
But I remember when we did Ghost of the Deep, and that boss can take a hit like cheese.
Yeah, she is the highest, the boss with the most health in the game recorded. Raids, dungeons, takes the cake.
And then I don't know why they need to make it even harder.
Yeah.
You know, it's painful, dude. Like, we took her out in 3 phases, which ain't bad, but like, it just...
Well, we could have done
it's
better
painful.
with some of the stuff, but yeah.
We just kind of jimmy rigged our damage rotations, but...
Yeah.
We just jimmy rigged it, pretty much.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, what's the next thing?
I'm going down the list. So, with like Crucible, is the next one. So, right now it's become whoever shoots you first. It's more like a sniper shootout than like what it was, and it was like actual.
No, with all the special ammo stuff.
Yeah. So like you actually
Well, what
had to
is
fight.
it then? Okay. Well, first take us through what it was, and then say what it is.
So
I
Crucible,
can take
you
it.
had many game modes like Capture the Flag, Zone Domination, 3v3s or Free for All, and others. But now it's become people will get like a hand cannon that would one tap you, or like a trace rifle that you don't even use that much ammo. Instead of what it was like actual fighting. You had to hit combos, you had to pop up a shield, you had to like hit your shots with your auto rifle and stuff. So now it's just a glorified sniper shootout, and that's not what everybody likes.
Yeah.
Or when you have a glaive and then you only have like 2 shots, but a shotgun might have 3 to 4, even though they're the same class.
Yeah, for like example, Trials. I played a little bit of Trials this week, and the special ammo it's something to say the least. How it works, you pretty much spawn in with 1, and since it's Surus Plaza, at each ends of the maps they have special ammo. The thing that makes it really annoying is special ammo carries over different matches. So was it like whoever wins that first match has the bigger advantage if they have special ammo for, let's say, if they have fusion rifles. I've seen quite a bit, shotguns, etc., etc. And just it's
So
they're handing out special ammo like it's candy, and it's
I mean,
the only way to really counter it is use special ammo, but it's just annoying.
I mean, I get it from like a standpoint. Let's say you just won and your glaive has 2 shots and you used all of the shots. Now you'd have nothing going over because you didn't die.
Yeah.
What they should do is reset your ammo at the end of each round.
So that's how they've done it a couple times, but like they've been toying with the special ammo for a while now, if I'm correct. They had it on like Ultra Flame and
Well, okay, so why does, well, I should say, how does special ammo have such a big impact, and why?
Okay.
I'll
let you do that one.
Special ammo, because you played Destiny, they're different. It's a different subclass of weapons, you could say. They're shotgun, glaives, fusion rifles, trace rifles, and a couple of exceptions, because I know there's like sidearms, but you don't see many special sidearms in PvP. But for example, like the big thing is special ammo is important because they're pretty much one of the more powerful type of weapons in PvP. Like shotguns, one tap if you're close enough. Fusion rifles, same thing if you have the right stuff. They're so much stronger than primary weapons. And when people are handing it out like candy, it means that people can kill people faster. It's not as fair depending if, let's say, one person has a better special. Like, let's say if someone has a okay legendary shotgun, and let's say if someone has conditional, the person with conditional most likely will win because it's just a better shotgun. And when they're handing it out like candy and it travels the other round, it gives that team the bigger advantage, especially if you die with special ammo in trials this weekend. It gets rid of all of your special ammo, and that just whoever wins has the bigger advantage if they have that special ammo.
So basically, special is like the second strongest besides heavy. So
heavy,
to be giving that out, it makes the primary practically useless.
Especially when, like, for example, Forerunner, I've seen that all over the place. I watched one Grenader Jake video, if you guys know him.
Yeah.
There will be times where he'd have 16 Forerunner shots, and it takes 3 headshots to kill someone.
That's crazy.
They're giving it out like candy, and those players that are higher skill will get more kills. They just can build up special upon special upon special just to pretty much punch you down to the ground with no breaking a sweat. It's just a snowball that becomes an avalanche, pretty much.
Yeah, so the momentum buildup is crazy. It's wild.
Yeah. It's one of those things, and Trials is also at like their lowest player count since 2021, what I saw. I think mainly they said because of the special ammo changes, it's just making it so much harder for the casual players that like to play Trials.
I can't right now. Why? Because I'm in the middle of something. Mom knows.
So how in Crucible, Trials, whatever, like PvP related stuff in Destiny, how much does the stats of the weapon matter to like the game? Like, for example, if you had a 1635 versus an 1810.
So
okay, when they did the you want to
yeah, no, you got it.
Okay, when they added like I can't remember what it's called, but like power level doesn't matter much in Crucible, if I'm correct, because it's pretty much doing the same damage. The big thing that matters with weapons and just armor and stuff is its stats. Like, you can get away with lower stats in PvE weapons-wise, but PvP, you want the best of the best, you know? Because, like, it just...
Yeah, of course.
If someone has better stats than you, they're most likely going to win that battle. It's It's just better stats will most likely win.
So how would you counter that?
Ooh, just countering, like, let's say if we're having, for example, two 120 RPM hand cannons, which are an archetype. Let's say you have Igneous Hammer, and you have what's one something new. All right. Big part of it, of like Igneous is of course the better component. A big part of it is if you know how to use that weapon, and if you're comfortable with it. Like, let's say we have someone who loves something new, is great with it, and let's say, like, okay, let me think here. Two people, exact same skill level, all right? One has something new, and they're more comfortable with it. One has Igneous, they're less comfortable with it. The person with something new will most likely win, in my opinion, because they're comfortable with a weapon. The weapon, they know how it works, they know how it feels when they play with it. Opposed to the person with Igneous. And there's to counter, let's say, just a better weapon in PvP. I'd say it takes a lot of skill and knowing, like, what that weapon can do. Like, let's say we have someone using conditional, keep range, of course, because conditional doesn't have, like, great range for a shotgun. So keep the range from conditional, and you might win. It's just knowing what your opponent is using and how to pretty much counter it if you can.
Yeah.
It's like you'd be completely, the weapon could be completely terrible, like fighting lion, but if you played with it enough, it could be very deadly, even though it's not worth the crap for DPS on other players.
I wouldn't say fighting lion, because just in my opinion, it's just not good at all. Like, if you get good with it, it will be able to kill people.
Very good with it, but they keep on nerfing it for like no reason. So they had like a 30% debuff on it, and it was already not that great.
Yeah.
But if you got like a good setup and you know how to use it, it was pretty fun to use.
Was it? And then, in my opinion, there are some guns in the game that just straight up suck, that you won't be able to win many battles with. For example, some 180 RPM hand cannons just straight up suck. But like, it just it depends if you're comfortable with the weapon.
Atrocious, like Stern, you just, if you miss one shot, it takes too long to even hit them.
Just, it's really important that you feel comfortable with the weapon you're using. Like, for example, PvP, I'm not using no PvP meta, you know, I'm using Revision Zero and, the Inquisitor, which Inquisitor I guess you could consider a great slug shotgun. Revision Zero, I've never seen it in PvP until I used it. But it's that I feel comfortable with it and I can kill people with it. Opposed to, let's say, Conditional, which is pretty much known as the exotic PvP shotgun god, I guess you could say, and I don't feel comfortable with it. I can't get consistent kills, and if I were to use a shotgun in the kinetic slot, I would probably use something like Chaperone or something, because I like those weapons, opposed to conditional finality.
And for them to like make so many changes to it, it's not even like the highest percent of the player base. Most of them play PvE. And then the small few do Gambit and Crucible.
Yeah.
What I would like to see is like every once in a while they would like throw in like a game mode to play. So like Trials and Iron Banner. But like it's not so often. Like every once in a while you would get like Infection. I know they could do Infection. They did it back during when they were working on Halo. Or like you'd have Scorch Cams 1 week, and then you'd wait 2 weeks to get back to Scorch Cam, or it's just randomized.
Yeah.
Where that game mode can't be played to hell, where you get bored of it. You see it and you're like, oh sweet, I liked this one. I feel like that would increase player on PvP. And to make it more balanced instead of like everybody gets a one shot. Who hits first wins.
Because that's like another big thing in PvP. Whoever gets the first shot off will typically win. But then again,
I don't.
it is.
From an outside perspective, I don't see anything too wrong with that. Can you further explain?
But yeah, I don't find anything wrong with it either. Like it just a lot of PvP is skill. It is like if you want to get good at Crucible and you want to get to, let's say, Ascendant rank, or you want to get really good at Tribals, you pretty much have to live in PvP. You know, it just it's you have to play constantly to keep your skill up and improve. That's a big thing with pretty much any game that has PvP. Like you can get back into PvE. It's easier. The PvP, it's always updating. There's always new weapons that come out that can break the game. It's just you have to play constantly to see what's good, and it's a lot.
Yeah.
So wait, okay. I just thought of something. So about the updates. So you know, like for example, Fortnite, they'll do like seasonal updates, or every now and then they'll do like every 1 to 2 weeks. But those won't really be like patches, unless it's something extreme. It won't really be like too crazy buffs or nerfs. So everything will kind of stay the same until like the end of the season, to like kind of keep it consistent, you know? And so, how does Destiny do it?
Once they find like a really game-breaking bug, like back then when you were able to put a bunch of perks on your exotics, that stuck around for like a month or two, and then they just got rid of the exotics and said if you're caught using them, you could get your account taken down for it.
Jeez. Okay. They did not like it.
No, because it was completely game breaking.
Yeah.
But I did feel like that set exotics out from your legendaries, because exotic was supposed to be like the highest tier. You got it, and it was something else. Yes, they have a extra ability built into them, but you have someone with a god roll of like anything, it just dwarfs the exotic.
That is true to, I'd say, an extent. The nice thing with exotics is you don't have to grind for them to be good, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Some exotics you do have to play campaigns for, or do raids for. The thing with getting a god roll is there's those smaller chances of getting it.
Yeah, because you're running off the RNG.
Like, for example, let me think here. Let's say you have Hawk Moon, which is a 140. What's a good? I'm pretty sure the Palindrome is a 140. The Palindrome could win. Same with Hawk Moon. But there are some exotics that do get dwarfed by god roll weapons. For example, an exotic SMG, will say Risk Runner, for example, will get dwarfed by a god roll Shahiro's Wrath. But then again, Risk Runner is more of a PvE weapon.
Yeah.
But there are many exotic weapons that I do agree that kind of do get dwarfed by god roll legendary weapons.
And I feel like some of them should be like buffed back up. So like Thorn, that's not like a squirt gun, and back during when you had to do the quest for it, you had to kill so many people, and it was just a long haul for it, just for it to be this crappy now.
Well, so Thorn, it's without the catalyst, it sucks. Yeah. I will admit to that. It doesn't have good range. But then I worked on getting the catalyst. And with the Catalyst, it's like night and day, in my opinion. You get better range, better stability, which helps the weapon out a lot.
Yeah.
Will you still lose to, let's say, some 120s or some 140s? Yes. But Thorn is a very good 140 in my opinion. Especially like I think it goes really well with product grips on Warlock. But it just there are guns that I will admit do get dwarfed dramatically. Wow, grammar.
And I feel like they
by
should still have
legendaries.
the exotic quest for some of them that you could still do. Like, you could still run Thorns. Though that's still completely doable, but you could just buy it in the vending machine now. Now I do get like, some guns where you can't go get them. Like you can't just run around on Mars for a sleeper simulant. I get that. So it makes sense for those to be in there, but not one that you could go run. So like Traveler's Chosen. Well, you could do that.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of is they took their, like you said, took their exotic quests out of the game, and then like it's a long story on how they do those exotic quests and whatnot.
But that gave you
But, like,
something to push for, to grind for. Like, oh, I'm like step 4 out of like 10 on it. I'm almost there.
Yeah. And now you just can buy, like, instead of working to get, let's say, Thorn, one of the, I guess, I will say one of the best 140 exotic hand cannons in the game, and just keep working for it, you can just buy it now.
Yeah.
But then again, it's only good if you have the Catalyst, which it's, like, I could read it off right now, but it just helps out the weapons so much. Same thing for, like, what's another exotic? Well, I don't know, but there's some exotics which are just straight up better with the Catalyst. But then again, it's a long story.
Yeah.
For example, like I've heard Vex Mythoclast is so much better with the Catalyst than it is just normal. It's just
So the next one is Solstice changes. So we've been running the same place, the same thing over and over. And all the other seasons, they change over time. Or like we'll get different places to go running on. It could be the same mission. Just getting a new place to do it would be kind of cool. Bring more draw to it, so like you can do it on like IO. And the Traveler would be pretty cool.
Sure.
But yeah, some of these events need new light into it, or just like a map change.
Yeah.
Because playing it like for
That's
years
sure.
and years doing the same thing, eventually it gets tedious.
Yeah, of course.
But the thing you do it for is the armor and like the guns.
Yeah.
But it would just be nice to have something new to it. Oh, and recently they had a update where if your name is offensive anyway, they will change it to Guardian and throw a bunch of numbers. It's like one of the well-known ones, Rick Caucus. His name is now Guardian. I can't remember the numbers, and there's nothing offensive about it. Yes, if you say it, it sounds like you're saying cock, but it's not even spelled cock. And yeah, it's a little
Weird.
frustrating for some people. Like, he's been there for a while. Some people say it's conspiracy.
Yeah.
And,
Conspiracy. How is it a conspiracy?
some people are saying they're trying to silence all these big names because they're saying it's dying. So like Rick Caucus was laying it out saying, this is what it was. It used to be fun, and now it's just nothing. It's just not worth it. we finished Final Shape. There's no real attachment for all the vets. There's no new player base to keep it going. And yeah, then they came out with that update, and then his name changed. So they're saying, oh, they're trying to silence him.
What do you think?
I don't know. They've been doing some shady things recently. So like one of the main guys at Bungie bought a whole bunch of cars, showed them off to a bunch of the employees, and fired 13% of them.
Well, people also said that it wasn't really. It was something like the people who own Bungie were really the like. They were the people who fired other people in Bungie.
Yeah.
And not like the CEO.
But for him to like buy all that stuff right before that happened, there was something shady going on for sure.
Okay.
All those cars.
I know it is bad. It is wrong, but it's kind of funny.
Yeah, a quick chuckle. There was like a guy that did all the math, and holy cow, that man just dumped money into cars randomly. He's like, oh, I'm gonna buy all these old Beetles, Volkswagens, just because. I'll show them off.
Like I like cars, but damn.
Yeah. I would give a normal person a heart attack on how much money he dropped.
Yeah.
So, their Act 3, it looks like it'll be kind of good. I like how they're doing this, because instead of just, like, dropping the whole season mission and you could get done within, like, a week, now they're kind of pacing it out. So they could, like, stop having to depend on DLCs and big events. It gives them a breather. So, like in Act 3, we're getting a exotic, a big exotic mission, one of the biggest, and it's for what it looks like a Vex fusion rifle.
Oh yeah. I think it's like the Harpy rifle or something.
Mm-hmm.
Which that's gonna be fun to get.
Yeah. One of the things I don't like, so like you saw pictures of what the conductor looks like. It looks like the chick from War Council. The annoying chick during when you had the trying to bring the Elixni in and like protect him, and then she kept on running her mouth saying this is not the way. And yeah, I was kind of liking the conductor, but now I see her face with it. It's just not it for me.
Yeah. Oh, you think she's ugly?
No, she's just annoying.
Fair enough.
So, what ideas do you have that could bring life back to D2?
Working with the fan base, you know, that's a big thing that a lot of big gaming studios don't really do. They don't listen to the fan base and see what they want and what the player base think could improve the game.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing that I like about smaller gaming studios is they actually, the games are made by actual gamers, so they listen to the fan base. For example, Helldivers. I'm like, they listen to their fan base, if I'm correct, and that game blew up like crazy.
That was not a great pick and example because it's dying out now.
Well, true, but it's just
they kind of stopped.
I'm just trying to
listening
think
and,
of anything.
Yeah, like Power World. They said, "Oh, this would be kind of cool," and they did it.
Yeah. Was it like listening to the fan base would help?
But you can only do that so much, though, because eventually it'll just get so chaotic, or they always expect something. But yes, I do agree.
And then
D2 needs to definitely listen a little more.
And then I'd also say, it's a hard one, because I don't make games, you know. Maybe bring back the producer, the composer they fired, because if I'm correct, they fired their composer.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, but he's the one that made the Halo, all of that, you know.
Yeah, he's the one that did the music in the Deepstone Crypt and all that. He made some really good music.
He made Halo. Like Halo and the Halo theme track, or just like the Halo theme, is one of the, in my opinion, most recognizable game themes out of any game. You know, it's just that choir at the beginning, and then just that, well, it's just ba 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 ba, which is like, it's so recognizable. I even know how to play it on guitar. It's fun, you know, and to fire such, not well known, I'd say, but such a great composer, and one that has made such good music and such a big impact on the gaming community, it kind of hurts me.
Yeah.
I remember Gavin was like, when they fired him, Gavin was so mad. And he was talking about how he loved all the music to the dungeons. That was like half of the reason he played the dungeons or whatever.
Some of us would just hop in for the music. Like, Ryan, he's got like 50 things of him. He's just dancing by the little nodes on Mars because the music was just so great. It just put a smile on your face. Or like in Deepstone, you work all your way and then you finally get up to the space station to hear the sweetest sound. It just calms you. You're just at peace.
And even in I think it's the one up right here. Let me check the name of it. Operation Seraph Shield. It also has a great soundtrack because it comes from.
Yeah.
Destiny 2 has a great soundtrack. You know, like, in my opinion, is it up there with, let's say, Minecraft? No. But it still has a great soundtrack.
Of course.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're gonna bring him back because I feel like after the original director ditched, they were trying to keep it alive by going like with a new direction. They had newer people to fill the shoes of the old. I wish they bring him back. I don't think it's there. A lot of people are also saying that what's after Final Shape. That was kind of the whole thing they were building up for years, and now it's just what they could plug and play. So like I took a few notes, like some things they could do. So like they could have a whole thing where we have to go fight to return the planets, like Mercury, Nessa, like all the ones that are gone, because we still don't have them.
Like one thing when we were doing Ghost of the Deep with me, you, and my buddy Taddy, when we saw Oryx, we kind of talked about it would be kind of cool if they had like weekend raid bosses, if that makes sense, you know, like because like weekends, the big things you have on the weekends is mainly Trials of Osiris and Xur. Those are the things that come in the weekends, but why not add something for PvE players? You know, like during the weekend there's a certain raid boss, and you don't get any of the raid weapons or anything, but let's say you get like spoils or even like a small chance of getting a weapon from that raid, you know, to have the PvE players look for something on the weekends instead of just like, oh, Xur's here, I got what I want, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like that'd be pretty cool, you know, like we
Mhm.
have Oryx one weekend, we have Riven another, and get like spoils from that, which would help get spoils. I know spoils aren't easy to get,
Yeah.
and they're not supposed to be, but maybe make them a little easier, or hell, maybe even exotic ciphers, because those aren't easy to get
Yeah.
either.
When we did
Because
the Volglass, I actually spent all my tokens because I was tired not paying attention. I spent them all, and I about cried when I got off. Like, I spent them all. I was saving them up for the freaking vending machine. That
and that's like
that hurt.
that's why I feel like they should make it at least a little easier to get spoils, and I feel like that's why that weekend raid
Spoils.
boss would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are spoilers?
They're little coins you get
spoils-
for doing raids, and then you can use them to buy chests, buy armor. You could buy
And the
vending
big
machine.
thing,
You could buy a sparrow, a couple guns that are like really good because they're raid guns.
yeah, and
Yeah.
they took out the raid that they were from, so pretty much you do a raid to get spoils to get old raid weapons that their raid that they came from are not in the game anymore. For let's say Legend of Accurus, I hate grammar. Heavy shotgun. They took out the Leviathan raid, so they added it to the
The vending machine.
yeah, the vending machine.
Yeah.
But one thing I do have to say is I do sadly have to go. I got some stuff to do around my house.
All right.
So I gotta head out. It was very nice being here. I enjoyed it. It was very fun. But thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Good to have you on. It's been
Right.
a pleasure.
Adios.
So, like with some of the DLCs, I took notes. So back during when we had Beyond Light, where we met the Exo Stranger, and she told us in her reality, her dimension, Clovis was evil and everybody was evil, but Stasis wasn't meant to be evil. It was meant to be wielded. I would
Yeah.
kind of like it where Clovis, her Clovis breaks through, and we would have to like fight him off. He could be a
You think
potential
that'd be
villain.
really cool?
Yeah.
And do you think they could continue that for a while, or would
I
be a
feel like
one-off thing?
that would be like a DLC, just like one DLC. It might go farther, but I feel like that would stir some stuff up. Or like we could have a DLC or a season where we go in free tour battle where the Cabal live, because that's ran by a hive witch, Zivu Ara, the war god.
Alright.
Or like if we get Titan back, there is these 3 spiky rings that they did for like effect to look like something big was lurking in the water. They could have definitely done like a raid boss or like a whole thing on where you had to fight it. Sea of Thieves kind
You
of
say
style.
didn't?
No, they didn't. They got rid of Titan. It was one of the plants that blooped, just disappeared.
Why?
Because the witness took him out. It stole half the planets, killed most of our guys, and it was like a big hit.
Did people like that? Like, think it was cool?
Well, I mean, it did put like a fear. Not people didn't like losing their plants, but it created more on the witness as being, oh, he's an all-powerful villain and he's gonna kill us if we don't do anything.
So it was a little bit more exciting. It's like, oh,
We have to it hyped him up. I feel like they could do so much with like the tower. Like there could be like events where like there could be like a season where it's like a JFK assassination attempt where you have to protect the mayor and someone's trying to assassinate the mayor. So you have to
Oh,
do
I-
like detective work and find them before it's too late.
I thought you were gonna say, and you have to protect JFK. I was like, what are you on about?
But
Well,
like,
it's like,
they could do stuff in like the tower where like we could be protecting the people built repairing the wall while we're fighting off hordes. Or like we could just like travel a little bit in the city. Like Saint does, and he sees the kids at play and just like a nice little aesthetic. Or like there could be a terror cell that you could fight off. There could be stuff that they could do at the tower that I feel like is just untapped. You see all this beautiful city, you don't even get to go in it or do anything in there. I feel like there could be something for there.
Yeah, I feel like that's like a clear like thing they would do in the future, right? If they show something that cool, then
Yeah, you
of course
would do
wanna,
something
like,
with
you would want to
it.
be like, oh, what's that? Oh, what is that? And it would drive a lot of mystery and drive a lot of like excitement towards it,
Hmm.
and then that's where you capitalize on it by actually doing it.
Yeah, that's like the whole thing with the Traveler. There was like a rumor where you could go in the Traveler if you do a bunch of things. That never happened. And then you also hear stories about the Traveler would take places and things and creatures and plants and put it in itself. So it was like a big library or a big sanctuary. And then to like actually go into it, that was so cool. You gotta like see everything it holds, and you just gotta like experience it after the big hype for years.
But they never did.
But they should do that with the tower next, because then
Oh,
they
did
could
do
also
it,
like
or did they not do it?
they did do it. For Final Shape, you had to go into the Traveler, and I feel like that was an
That's
amazing thing for them to do.
So what's the tower?
So the tower is like the home base, the last footing of humans, because the Fallen came and it was just an alien invasion to the point where they had to build a big wall, like an Attack on Titan, where they have the city inside the wall, and they had people to fight off the hordes. The Traveler was there too, and it didn't really do much. It gave people powers, but it sat dormant. So you had someone called the Speaker that would speak for it, but it didn't really hear it. So like a priest saying the words of God that doesn't know God on a personal level.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But then you had the Red War, where a whole army of militarized aliens come down and take your light away, so you have no powers, and they completely just wreck your shit. But you're still alive, and then you have to like crawl your way back to the Traveler, fight them off, and you had a big badass enemy called Gull, where he used to be a gladiator, and he fought his way through the ranks. So you have this gladiator general that you had to fight. And yeah.
So what about it?
You just, back when they hyped it up with little things, like you lost your light. You're no longer this big scary guy. Now you're the bottom tier, and you have to crawl your way back up. You have to fight him off to save everything.
Yeah. And you want them to do that again or something? Or do
You were asking about the tower, so I was kind of like giving insight what it was. And then,
and so you want to be able to go inside the tower?
so yeah, I want to be able to like do stuff in that city and all that.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't know Destiny that much, so I can't comment too well.
Yeah, well, the idea was me and Salvo and, well, Ryan was supposed to get in. So, like, we have the vets, and then we have the newer players to give their opinion on it, like you've been doing.
More like newer player.
So then we're, like, basing it off back and forth. what the old and the new think and what can improve.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll just have to do that, me and you. So where should we start? Or what's like the next topic?
So we kind of hit through most of them. So a
I
lot of
think
people
today should
are
be, I
what?
think today should be a little bit shorter. We just
Yeah,
cap it
well,
off
we're
to, like,
almost
maybe
done.
Like an hour and a half.
We've got like 1 or 2 topics at best left.
Okay. So let's
So
for them, and then we'll do a little.
so like in total, you had Shadowkeep, where on the moon you had aliens that were trying to take over Earth.
Yeah.
By war and conquest. That was pretty cool. That was a $25 one. That one was a pretty decent one. A lot of people bought that one. Then you had Forsaken, which was the most bought one, where our favorite character died. So it was more like you had to see that, you had to grieve him. And they're like, oh, we could do that? Okay. So then then you had Beyond Light, where basically if you didn't get it back then, you might as well set the controller down and just take it, because it broke PvP. It was just an overpowering thing, because it would freeze you and just take you out. So like there's many memes, oh, stasis user, I might as well put down my controller because it was so broken.
You get stasis for having the Beyond Light DLC.
You had to have the Beyond Light to get stasis. So like, oh, it's pay to win now. Okay, that's where we're going, D2.
And so is stasis like a weapon?
It's a power. So like you could have a flaming hammer, you could have a void shield where you could be like Captain America, or you could be like a rocket and just like dive bomb the living crap out of people. And then they came out with stasis, which was the whole thing on Control, where you could freeze people. You could send a frost NATO as a hunter to stop anybody attacking you.
People didn't really like that.
Because once you got frozen, there's nothing you could do. They're about to kill you in the next 2 seconds. And then they came out with... Okay.
Let's talk about that a little bit. The stasis.
Yep.
So, in depth, like, what exactly do you do with it? Let's say, like, I'm a new player. Well, I am a new player, but and I just got stasis back then, and I was facing someone who didn't have it. What would I do?
So there's different types of abilities for different classes. So hunters, they have where they can literally chuck 2 icy sickles at you. If those don't hit you and kill you, then their 3 tornadoes of ice will freeze you and kill you. For a warlock, they had a wand where they could spam cast the living snot out you. So if you're not getting hit by the cast, you're getting frozen. And then you had the Titan, where he would just ground pound like Donkey Kong, creating a bunch of ice spikes charging you.
And so anyone who would try to go up against it didn't really have that much luck.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and then after that we had.
Did they?
Oh, yeah.
Did they have any future kind of pay to win type stuff?
So, what they did after Beyond Light, they're like, okay, we gotta level this out because people are getting really annoyed by this.
Yeah.
So, what? Hold on. I'm in the middle of this. I told you this.
Okay, holding on.
I will get dinner when I get dinner.
So,
Well, I'm in the middle of the thing.
I am just sitting
All right.
in.
You're
Oh, just
basically-
on.
That's funny.
So, with Stasis, what was nice is you could craft and edit your build. So like you could completely change your super. You could have yourself stronger by putting more intellect or strength. You could have a faster charge. So what they did was like, okay, we'll take that and we'll implement that into our other supers like Void, Solar, Arc to kind of level it out, which that did. They had Witch Queen, where people say that sucks, but I liked it because it kind of gave you back Mars in a partial sense. It gave you a more insight into the Hive and what the Hive were.
It's funny. The only thing DLC we played is the Witching Queen. You say that people hate that one.
People hate that one.
So you literally just put me on the worst one.
Well, because that was you wanted to do the Nightmare difficulty, and that one was the first one to introduce a normal difficulty and then a Nightmare difficulty, where the experienced players or the players with that want a challenge could go do that, or someone that just wants to play it could just play it. So it gave people options, and that was a really cool thing that they introduced.
Yes, of course. I love the Nightmare difficulty. It makes it so much more fun because you actually have to try it.
And then they came out with not Final Shape, Lightfall, where they brought back Callus, which was the whole leader of the Cabal. He owned the Leviathan, which was a raid where you had to go fight him on the Leviathan. They brought him back in his new drippy form, and it was cool. And then you had a whole new planet. You had whole new people that you thought were gone. And that was pretty cool. People didn't really care for it. And you also got Strand, which was another dark form of energy. So you had Control, and you had to freeze, because darkness was all about manipulation, and light was all about the chaotic forces. A lot of people wish that we had a third darkness type to like even out one for each one. That's what we were going to have. We were going to have a Nightmare class. But then they decided, you know what, we're going to make it so you can dual wield. Instead of giving this last one that you've been begging, we're going to allow you to dual wield and limit it to hell. So anything that you did think was going to be fun, like you run a hammer and you could run a void shield, nope. But Prismatic is still pretty good.
Why allow to dual wield if you're just going to limit it so much to where it's not fun?
Well, because they had to limit it, they had to like water it down to the point where it doesn't become broken like Stasis used to be. Because basically you could pop two different supers. Instead of like if you're having like Void, you only have one super. Well, technically Prismatic has two. They have their super, and then they have a speed charge on their grenade and their fists when they activate Prismatic.
Is Lightfall the final DLC, or is there more after?
That's one of the things we're gonna get to. So, but first, so Lightfall had the lowest bot, which everybody thought, well, that's downhill from here, because this was supposed to be the end. Everybody wanted to tune into it. It's not like they didn't want them. It's because they delayed it. So everybody bought it, right? And they're like, okay, it's going to come out soon. And then they're like, okay, we can't do it by that time, so we're going to push it to a whole nother year back. We're going to give you 4 seasons to play around with. But, yeah, we're going to have to push it back.
A whole year is crazy.
And then no one liked that, so a bunch of them started refunding it. They're like, well, that's it for me. If I have to wait that long, you're just going to probably push it off again. So they lost a lot of sales on it by that whole charade. But now after Final Shape, people are like, what's next? So they decided to do episodes, which for instead of doing your whole season, you have 3 different parts and you have to wait for those different parts. So like I could go do act 1 and once I'm done, I could go fuck off for a little bit, play a different game. And I could come back for the next episode. So it gives them time to actually think and prepare a good DLC or a good season.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, they're planning to do more DLCs. Some of them they're thinking are going to be free. But yeah, I think it will live as long as they make changes that they need and keep it interesting.
So that's the thing. A lot of games, especially live service games, they forget about the aspect of there are other games besides their game.
Yeah.
Some of their whole missions isn't even to make a good game. It's just to keep you on their game forever.
Yeah,
It's
and
like
that
the
was
some
like the
people
thing
with
with
World of
Echo,
Warcraft, which is
with
like-
the episodes. It was kind of nice because it gives you time to go play other games, but it still has you intrigued to come back.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like for example, I'm gonna give 2 examples real quick.
Yeah.
And one are both opposites from each other. You got the first one, which is World of Warcraft. People have played that game and only that game for like 2 decades.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first learned about that, I was like, okay, yeah, you're playing the game and you love the game, you can like constantly play it or whatever. But like, surely you play other games. Like I didn't even think about that. Like
No.
surely you play other games or whatever. I just thought, subconsciously I was like, oh yeah, of course they're playing something else. But then I was watching a video of something. I think it was Asmongold or something like that. And he was talking about how people get so mad when someone doesn't consistently play WoW, and they like start moving to other games, especially other games kind of like WoW. It just kind of shocked me. I'm like, so you play out of every hundreds of video games, whether it be solo player, multiplayer, whatever, live service, offline. There are thousands of video games over the years, especially good ones too. And you have only played one game. You've only allowed yourself to play one game throughout the entire time.
You just missed out on like all these other things because you were so focused on it.
And WoW, I've heard about it. Like a lot of the times, it'll make it so grindy to where that's kind of all you can play at certain points.
Mm-hmm.
And they're trying to constantly get your attention, keep your attention, all that. But then Final Fantasy, which is Final Fantasy 14, I think it was.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's like in the same genre, but they actually know that they don't want people to just only play their game. Like they know people are not going to just play their game, and they're cool with that. They're fine with that. They actually like that. To where, I forget, but basically one example I was going to bring up about Final Fantasy was the fact of Elden Ring, like the DLC to Elden Ring. Final Fantasy was coming out with their own DLC or expansion, whatever you want to call it, and it was going to come out the same day Elden Ring, the DLC to Elden Ring was going to come out. But the game creator, I forget his name, but he's an amazing guy. Like he's funny enough, and he was like, yeah, we're gonna have to delay our DLC by a week because, and he explicitly stated it too. He was like, I know everyone's gonna play the Elden Ring DLC, so we're just gonna delay ours by a week and give you guys time to play Elden Ring. And he actually just straight up said it on stage, like in front of everyone.
Yeah.
So like he actually had a conscience to where like a lot of people. It was funny because a lot of people were even saying that he wanted to delay the DLC by a week because he was gonna play it Elden Ring himself.
Yeah.
And he's like the game creator, like the game director for Final Fantasy. So like, not a direct competitor, but like he wants people to play. Of course, he would want people to play his game, but he delayed it by a week because he knew everybody's gonna be playing the Elden Ring DLC. And so he's like, oh, I'm just gonna give them time to play it, have fun, and he's probably gonna play himself.
Well, yeah,
Um,
that's also like a marketing
and
thing.
then of course like release it like a week later, so people after they like got all the Elden Ring out their system, they can hop on to Final Fantasy for day one.
Hmm. That's also like a
So it's, like,
marketing
it's smart.
thing though, because like Starfield came out, and it was pretty good, but then Power World showed up, and since Power World was made by a actual gamer, and it was like a Pokemon based thing, and people love Pokemon, it just completely dwarfed it, threw Starfield into the shadows. So it's
So
just comes down to like,
kind of just a bad game as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of like marketing, but at the same time, it's like of course it's like half marketing, but I think it's like it's a mix. It's a half marketing, half
Mhm.
He knows people want to play Elden Ring, so why not just delay it by a week and let people play
Yeah.
Final Fantasy later?
let them get out of their system so they can come back to this game that is good.
Yeah, especially for day one and all the initial hype and all that stuff. It's like, and people just like that a lot more. You not only do you just get more players, it's just smart in terms of marketing mode. People also just themselves like it,
Mhm.
so they don't have to pick between Elden Ring and Final Fantasy to play day one. So you get good publicity, plus you get more like a better marketing or like just people showing up and stuff. It's just all around just a better mood.
Yeah. And what's one thing I've like noticed? Not a lot of games like look at other games like, okay, that's pretty cool. So like Helldiver, what was amazing about that is because everybody was connected. Everybody had to play the role to keep plants and move plants. And it was together with like Destiny. Yes, it's a friend based game where you have to play with friends to like move up. Like if you don't know what you're doing and you're low level, you're not going to solo a dungeon, so you kind of have to wait for someone else to come along to play it with you. So it kind of like isolated you. What would be kind of cool for like we have to like fight for our planets back, where we would have to reconquer them, and kind of like a rip off of Helldivers in a sense for like a season or a couple seasons where you have to fight for each planet.
Yeah, but the thing about Destiny though, even though it's like 3 people, I never get a sense of teamwork really. In
You
Destiny.
have to
Of
know
course
the
there's, like,
people. You can't just like find someone and know that
no,
you're gonna be
I
fine.
guess. I guess, but like my thing is, of course, there's like, for example, when you're facing like a boss or whatever, there's like a damage phase, and of course you coordinate in terms of like knowing how to defeat the boss. But it's not really like you're not helping your friend like in terms of like, I don't know, maybe healing him or like I think damage
Well,
boost or
that's what
something.
they're kind of introducing with this one. So like they have exotic where you could heal your team, reload your team, and they introduced a few
Yeah, see-
mods to help that.
See, even with like of course, yeah, I think that's good. But like in terms of like classes, stupers, warlocks, titans, whatever, of course they have the different play styles. But for the most part, you're kind of just dancing around on the little battle, like the boss arena. You're kind of just dancing around by yourself,
So like
shooting
with
at the boss. You're
warlocks,
not
they
really
have like
looking at your
heal
teammates.
grenades where they can heal you. They're more of the support class. They have a whole super
I'm a
called a
warlock,
well,
and I
where if you're in that circle, you deal more damage. But yes, I get what you're saying.
I get that, but it's just like for the most part, you don't really help your team besides like shooting the boss,
Yeah.
reviving them, they get down, or something. For the most part, you don't really do nothing to help your team. You're just kind of like,
Yeah, a lot of people are saying we need like a Destiny 3 and just like do a complete wipe. I feel like it's too
yeah,
late
they're
for
not gonna
that.
make it the same way.
They missed that with like the final shape, where they could have done it where like if enough people defeated the witness, like fought back the witness, we would have continued. But if we didn't hit that quota, the witness would have introduced the final shape and it was all over, and that would have been a good way to end it off. Now they don't have a good way to end off. Like with 1, it sucked how they just ended it. There was no real closure to 1. And I feel like if they do end 2, they have to end it on a good note. That's why everybody was like, we have to get the final shape, because that's going to be the end of this saga. So either that's the end of this game, or it's the end of this chapter. We got to see it through. We're already this committed and in debt to it. We have to see it through.
Got to see it through, my boy.
Yeah, I think that's all we got for this, unless you got anything else to add.
Do you have any topics left?
No, I ran through them all. I was kind of hoping Sabbath and Ryan would have a few topics too.
Yeah, Ryan. I didn't even know Ryan was supposed to show up.
Yeah, he was supposed to show up, but he said he wasn't going to make it.
I think I honestly, I'll say that for later. But for Destiny, like, I like the game, but there's like a lot of problems.
Yeah. Well, that's with like a lot of games. There's always problems,
I know.
and you can only fix them
But
as you
the
go. But yes,
the thing
to a
is-
point it gets so bad where you have to sit down and fix them and say, "Hey, this isn't it." And that's with like what Salvo was saying. You
think-
gotta listen to your player base.
I will say though, sometimes gamers are fucking stupid. They're really
Yeah.
dumb. They're really dumb. So it's a balance. You have to like really think about like what are the key changes that you really need to make to
Mhm.
like switch the game to where people really like it. What is like the dumb stuff people say as well that you shouldn't take at like face value, or you shouldn't like really make
Yeah.
into a thing.
Like with like a
Like,
lot of
look,
streamers,
balance,
they're
uh,
jumping ship saying it's done, it's dead, and a lot of people are believing them. But the player base has turned to like so much hate. There's no like good kindness, like, oh, this was really good job, or hey, this was pretty fun. It's just all like a massive mob of yelling.
I will say, anytime I hear anything about a DLC, it always ends with, "Oh yeah, the player base thought it was bad." I was like, "Do you like anything?"
It's because they've just become so needy over time, and they feel like they have to shout just to have their voices heard. And it's just became a toxic community. Some of them are nice, but you have to really search for them. So like now, the D2 community is like a feared community. It's a big community, one of the biggest, but a lot of them are either toxic or just a-holes now.
Yeah. I think next time I'm gonna try to come up with the topics. I'm not gonna lie, I really like this whole thing because we had like a topic, for example, Destiny 2,
Yeah.
and we were able to talk about it the whole time. It was so much more fun
Yeah,
and like consistent,
we'll try to continue with this, but yeah.
especially with the what's his name, Salvo.
Salvo, yeah.
Salvo. I like that guy. I think
Yeah.
he was. Definitely good for especially since you and him. What I really liked was that there wasn't that many people at this time. It wasn't like 7 people.
It wasn't
on the call. I
crowded.
think-
It was people that knew what they were doing. A lot of them
especially
that were hopping in, like Michael and stuff, he was just talking to talk, but he wasn't really following the topic. With the topic, he knew he couldn't contribute, so he didn't show up.
yeah, I think it was also really in terms of like how both it was like. I'm not saying it should always be 3 people. I think
No.
4 people is like the perfect spot for me, but the way it was like you who knew a lot about Destiny and Savron, whatever his name is.
Salvo, yeah. He
I
knew
can't
a
remember
lot,
his name. Oh, I forget.
and then
He knew a lot as well, and so you two were able to bounce like forth.
yeah,
And then I, as a player who knows nothing, I can think of like
questions and stuff to like
I can just ask.
you're on the newer player side, so you attacking from both ends.
Yeah.
I do like a
Um,
big community, but yet because once we get like a good amount of people for like the podcast, only certain people will join for topics. So like we only had a certain amount for the D2 because not all of them
Yeah,
played
I'll-
D2. But the reason I like that is because we could constantly switch out people. So like it's not the same four talking and talking and talking and talking and talking for like 5 seasons or whatever. You have
Well, I want to be here.
yeah, you have different people, like you have a change up every once in a while. So there's like someone new or someone from like 5 episodes ago. Just like to give it
Yeah.
a little more flavor.
Of course. So
Yeah.
I think we got to end off here. I
Yeah,
think it's been a very fun time, very
Mhm.
fun hour and a half.
very
I
good.
actually enjoyed it a lot. And for the first 40 minutes of